What if the most terrifying day in human history wasn't the day a war began, but the day ordinary people suddenly realized that the world they knew was ending? On August 6, 1945, one city was destroyed in a matter of seconds. Tens of thousands of people died almost instantly. Buildings disappeared. Shadows of human beings were burned into walls. But here is the question this documentary will answer. How could one bomb destroy an entire city, and why did the United States decide to use it? To understand that day, we have to go back to a world already exhausted by 6 years of war. By 1945, World War II had become the deadliest conflict in human history. Europe was collapsing under the weight of years of fighting. Nazi Germany had been defeated, but the war against Japan was still continuing. American forces were moving closer and closer to the Japanese mainland. But there was a terrifying problem. American military planners expected that an invasion of Japan could cost enormous numbers of lives, both American and Japanese. Japan had shown that it was willing to fight with extreme determination. So American leaders faced a decision with consequences that would change history forever. How could they force Japan to surrender without invading the mainland? The answer had been secretly developing for years. It was called the Manhattan Project. Thousands of scientists, engineers, soldiers, and workers had been brought together in secret locations across the United States. Their mission was extraordinary: build a weapon powerful enough to release the energy hidden inside the atom. On July 16, 1945, scientists successfully tested the world's first nuclear weapon in the New Mexico desert. The explosion was unlike anything humanity had ever created. A massive fireball rose into the sky. The scientists now knew something terrifying: the weapon worked. But they still had to decide what would happen next. The United States had 2 atomic bombs ready for use against Japan. And on August 6, one of them was loaded onto an American B-29 bomber named Enola Gay. Its target was Hiroshima. Hiroshima was a major Japanese city and an important military center. That morning, people were beginning another ordinary day. Children were preparing for school. Workers were heading to their job. Families were starting their morning. There was no way for most of them to know what was coming. At approximately 8:15 in the morning, the bomb was released. It was called Little Boy. Less than a minute later, it detonated roughly 600 meters above the city. Then everything changed. A blinding flash filled the sky. A huge fireball expanded outward. Buildings were destroyed. Windows shattered far beyond the center of the explosion. People near the hypocenter were killed almost instantly. Those farther away faced burns, injuries, collapsing buildings, and fires spreading through the city. In seconds, Hiroshima had been transformed. But the most horrifying part was still coming. The explosion itself killed tens of thousands of people. But the suffering did not end when the fireball disappeared. Many survivors were severely burned. Others were trapped beneath buildings. Some wandered through the destroyed city searching for their families. And then there was something people did not fully understand at the time: radiation. People who appeared to have survived the explosion could later become seriously ill. Some developed symptoms including weakness, vomiting, bleeding, and other effects associated with radiation exposure. By the end of 1945, historians generally estimate that roughly 140,000 people in Hiroshima had died from the bombing and its immediate aftermath, although the exact number cannot be known. And yet, Japan did not surrender immediately. 3 days later, another atomic bomb was dropped. This time, the target was Nagasaki. Again, a city was devastated. And now Japan faced a reality the world had never seen before: a weapon capable of destroying an entire urban area with a single explosion. This is where the history becomes complicated. The United States argued that using the atomic bomb would help end the war quickly and avoid a costly invasion of Japan. American leaders believed an invasion could result in enormous casualties. But historians have debated the decision ever since. Some argue that the bombings were necessary to force Japan's surrender. Others argue that Japan was already close to defeat and that alternatives could have been pursued. Another major event also changed the situation. On August 8, 1945, the Soviet Union declared war on Japan and invaded Japanese-held territory in Manchuria. Japan was now facing pressure from 2 directions. On August 15, Emperor Hirohito announced Japan's surrender to the Japanese people. World War II was finally coming to an end. But Hiroshima and Nagasaki had opened a new and frightening chapter in human history. The atomic bomb did more than end a war. It changed the meaning of war itself. Before 1945, destroying a city required thousands of aircraft, enormous amounts of explosives, and hours of bombing. Now, one weapon could cause catastrophic destruction in seconds. The United States soon had a nuclear arsenal. The Soviet Union developed its own atomic bomb in 1949. Then came a dangerous competition known as the nuclear arms race. Nations began building weapons far more powerful than the bombs dropped on Japan. Humanity had entered the nuclear age. And suddenly, the survival of civilization depended not only on armies and battleships, but on decisions made by a small number of people holding weapons capable of unimaginable destruction. Today, Hiroshima is a living city. Children go to school. People go to work. Families walk through its streets. But the memory of August 6, 1945, remains. The ruins, photographs, survivor testimonies, and memorials remind the world of what happened when humanity first used nuclear weapons in war. And now we can return to the question we asked at the beginning. How could one bomb destroy an entire city? Because for the first time in history, humans had learned how to release the enormous energy contained inside the atom. But the deeper question is even more disturbing. If humanity created a weapon powerful enough to destroy a city in seconds, can humanity also become wise enough to make sure it never happens again? That question is still unanswered. And perhaps that is the darkest part of this story. Not that humanity discovered how to destroy so much, but that we still have to decide whether we will ever use that power again.